Welcome to the Troy Kearns podcast. We discuss real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and business to help you retire and become financially free. Make sure you share this podcast with someone who could benefit from it and leave us a 5-star review. It truly helps me out. This show will mentor you towards financial freedom. If I can do it, so can you.
Today's guest is a running legend, the winningest 100-miler of all time, 40 victories, and the man who once ran the entire Appalachian Trail in under 46 days. That's 2,190 miles. Also the founder of the Speedgoat 50K, a tough 50K race in Utah, known for the steep climbs and technical trails. He's the Speedgoat, Karl Meltzer. Karl, you are also the hero's hero, man. Where I learned about you was listening to David Goggins, and I took a deep dive into your thing, and you impressed the shit out of him. And then once I looked you up, I said, "Holy crap, this guy is the ultimate beast."
I'm an old man. That's why. I've got actually 50 victories at 100 miles instead of 40.
Wow.
So that was bumped up a little bit in the last few years, but regardless of that,
ChatGPT is bad.
What's that?
I said ChatGPT is bad.
I know, right? Like they're a little behind. That's all right. I first met David Goggins at the I believe it was called McNaughton Trail 100 in I guess that is it Indiana or Illinois, and I first talked to him there, and another good guy. You know, he was really new into ultra running. He looked up to me like I was some sort of hero, and I was kind of like, hey man, I'm just a guy running around loops around Indiana. He's a good person. It was a long time ago, but it's been a long ride. Time goes by pretty fast.
Yeah, you're not kidding me. So it's funny that I'm not like a runner. My wife is the big runner. Like she was right before we met. She was doing 50s and stuff like that. And I picked up a book at Barnes & Noble, if you remember those guys back in the day. And it was Dean Carno, if you remember that guy.
Dean Carnassus, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't say his last name, so I just know he goes by Carno. And I picked up that book and I read it, and I'm I think 20 at that point in time. I'm 47 now. So this is like when that book first came out. I saw it. I read the whole book. I got really inspired by the story. I've made running, not big races, but just running a regular thing that I do for physical fitness. And when I look at guys like you, man, I'm just like, that mental toughness that you guys have is next freaking level. And I just wanted, and my wife actually, she's so funny. She's like, I want to jump on the podcast today with you. And she's absolutely not a fan of social media, not a fan of anything. Yeah. And then she goes, you know what? I don't want to, but I really want to listen to it instead because.
Yeah, I've done a lot of races. I mean, I've been around for a long time. And I think for me, when I found the 100-mile distance, it sort of became my niche, you know. When you looked me up, you saw I've run so many hundreds. A lot more than a lot of guys do now. They kind of do 1 or 2 a year at the most now. But I was kind of into doing a lot of them. And, you know, instead of looking for a real job or trying to find a way to make money, I decided I wanted to run instead and went and trying to let the rest of it follow me. And fortunately, I was lucky enough to be able to kind of pull that off. And you mentioned 27 years ago. That's funny because being 2025, 98 was my first 100-mile win. At Wasatch. So you were just seeing ultra running, and then reading Dean's book, Ultramarathon Man, probably, right? Yeah. That book inspired. I didn't know Karl then either, but that book really inspired a lot of people to say, "Wow, people can do these crazy long distances." And he kind of started I give him a lot of credit. He kind of started I don't know if the movement is the right word, but a lot of people really got into ultra running reading that book. And then Born to Run was another book that came around later on that inspired more people. It's cool to, looking back like 30 years, it's crazy. I've been doing this for 30 years now. And just blink because time really flies, man.
We're not too far apart in age. I'm 47, my wife's 55. And, you look back and can't freaking see the computer screen without glasses and shit. So that Father Time's got your ass. Yeah. But if you look at all the amazing accomplishments that you've done, I mean, I think that and I even admire this in my own wife, is like just this mental toughness that you have to get these types of mileage. Can you talk about like where your running passion came and like how you kind of started it, fueled it, and kept it going?
Yeah, well, my first time I really started running, I was a kid. I was 10, 11, 12 years old, running, racing with my friends around the block. It's what we did out there because we didn't have phones, social, internet or things like that. So things are very different when we were younger. And that sort of drove me to, I just liked being outdoors. Whether it was playing golf or running or whatever, it didn't really matter like back in my high school years. But I ran cross country in high school. I was pretty good at it. I wasn't the best around, but I was one of the better kids. And then in '89, I graduated from high school in '86. So in '89, I moved to Utah to ski. I mean, I wasn't even thinking running, but the plan was to ski, then go back home, get a real job. But that just isn't in my blood. I stayed in Utah and started running around the mountains again. I hadn't run for a couple years after high school and stuff. I kind of was just a bum and doing stupid things, and then I skied a lot, but I started running around in the summertime in the Wasatch Mountains and near Salt Lake, and I loved it. I just was like, this is it, this is the shit. I'm gonna save all my money in the wintertime that I made bartending at Snowbird Ski Resort, and I'm gonna run as much as I can in the summer, work as little as possible, and that became my motto for a long time. And as I went through the '90s, Pikes Peak Marathon was the big race, and then it was that was the big race of the year. Then finally, a friend of mine at Snowbird says, you should run the Wasatch 100. I didn't even know what that was at the time, but he kind of talked me into it. I entered the race like a month before because there weren't lotteries back then. And I just ran that 100-miler and I finished the damn thing. I mean, the last 25 miles was brutality, but I got it done. And that sort of started the fire. And the following year I came in 7th. The following year I won after that. And then when that point came on, I wasn't making any money running, of course. I was still saving those quarters in that Cuervo 1800 bottle behind the bar. But anyway, yeah, like ran, when I won Wasatch in '98, I was like, this is cool. Then you kind of, as an athlete, you all seek sponsors and things. And at the time, you'd write this little resume, you'd write down your accomplishments, say, hey, I'd like to sponsor him. I'll wear your shoes, blah, blah, blah. And that doesn't work these days anymore, I don't think. It's very different now for athletes, but back then, ultra running magazines where you got recognized, not on Instagram, right? So it was very, very different. And I was fortunate to be called from the president of Montreal at the time. I don't know if you remember that company or not, but they kind of started a movement too in ultra running. They sponsored a lot of runners. Basically, they just gave them some free stuff and some shoes and stuff. But I was one of the elite guys, along with Scott Jurek and Dave Terry and Hal Kerner, and that started the roll. And it's funny because I think the first year I ran for Montreal, they paid me $500 a year. Which you're like, oh, well, where's that going to get you now, right? It gets you down to the gas station. But that was sort of the beginning of I can do this. And then Red Bull came along in 2001 after I broke the Hard Rock record. And that produced a small extra assistance, we'll call it, with travel. I still wasn't really being paid much.
Yeah.
But then, you get better and did more, and then you start asking for more. And I've kind of been the kind of person that's like, if you don't ask, you can't receive, right?
For sure.
And sometimes you got to say no to get yes. And I kind of took those risks, and things evolved forward. And then Montreal was supporting me a little more, Red Bull was supporting me a little more, and then I was like, okay, I'm making a living being a runner, making $12,000 a year.
Right.
Not much money, but that's sort of how it started. And then as I progressed forward, I started winning all these hundreds and winning all these races. I found the 100-mile to be my niche. I was best at that. I was strong mentally. I've always been a very laid-back kind of person, but at the same time, I'm very competitive but laid back. So I think when you have bad patches and good patches in these long races, your grit and your determination is what sort of brings you through them.
Right.
The race is between your ears. It's like playing golf. I play a lot of golf, so I'll reference golf a number of times here.
Please do, because I can't figure that one out either.
Yeah. I was hitting it all over the place this morning. But anyway, it is really between your ears. Obviously, you have to be fit and in shape and train and those type of things. But I learned to sort of Ian Torrance once said to me, running ultras is managing your issues and overcoming obstacles and things like that. And I just got very good about it, solving problems on the trail, whether it was my stomach issue or a cramp or whatever. I got good at it, and I started winning, and then I started to figure out how can I get better at it by not running faster, but by becoming more efficient. So I became the guy that all he does is eat gels during the 100 milers, you know. And I'd laugh about after Hard Rock where I consumed 57 gels and water and you know, and like some salt caps. So, I mean, some salt too. And that was really about all we ate. At least when we became more efficient. So I just got good at it. I found out what I was really good at, and then I just said I'm going to do this, you know. And you know, I managed to save, like I said, managed to save those quarters and managed to be able to turn my career into more. And then, you know, my Appalachian Trail attempt 2008, I didn't finish it, or I did finish it. I'm sorry, I didn't break the record, but I did finish, and I learned from that. And I said, well, I want to go back in the future and do it again, but I'm gonna. I think I was 40 when I did that 2008. It was right around there, and but I wanted to compete more because I was still competing at a high level, you know, at the 100. So I competed for a while, and then Red Bull. We did the thing with Pony Express Trail when I ran from Sacramento to St. Joe, Missouri. And that was sort of just a Red Bull project. Call it a project. They like to do projects with their athletes. And then the next project was like, well, hey, I want to do the AT again, you know. And then they supported me. We made the film. Hoka came along in 2010, completely out of nowhere. They, you know, I get a call from Nico Mermoud, one of the founders, and I'd raced him at UTMB, and he's like, hey, I want to show you these shoes I have, you know, and try them out. I don't want to impede on your other sponsors, you know, but I was kind of up for sort of maybe a change, so to speak. I was running for La Sportiva at the time. I like people that La Sportiva were great. The shoe company's great, but the shoe really wasn't working for me that great. So I tried on his funky clown shoes, and you know, and I said, if you pay me the whopping $5,000 that La Sportiva's paying me per year, I'll jump ship. So I looked into those details on that, and I jumped ship, and best decision I ever made in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, because you have a shoe named after you called the
Speedgoat. Well, what else, right? Right. I mean, that's the dream world, right? I mean, honestly, you think of the Air Jordan, and I don't even know who else have a shoe, right? Like, it's not. Believe me, I'm no Air Jordan, but
I think you are though. I think you are. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, man. You are the Air Jordan of running.
Yeah, I've won a lot. So, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, from my perspective, I'm, like I said, I'm kind of laid back. I try to be somewhat humble, and it's been, blessing isn't really not the word for me, but it's been a ride that it's like, you know, I got really lucky. I was in the right place at the right time a few times, and that was with Hoka, you know, like when that happened, the idea of the shoe was a conversation walking around the outdoor retailer show in Salt Lake in 2000, maybe 12-ish or something, with the president of Hoka, who I didn't even know was the president of Hoka when I was talking with him. We're walking around with this guy, some guy that works at the booth, right? Yeah. Well, I didn't know it was the president. It was the president. And Jim was a great guy. We just started talking about, hey, we should make a Speedgoat shoe. I'm kind of joking off the tip of my tongue. Within a month, you know, we're moving forward with doing the shoe. And, I mean, that's, you know, I was still kind of blown away. I'm like, well, you know, how do I work this out? Yeah. But then I had the name trademarked before Hoka, so that was sort of a random thing. But I was like, you know, I wanted to spend that whopping $1,500 to trademark this name for a shoe, and for some reason I was able to pull that off and do it. And then that sort of evolved into where the Speedgoat shoe started, and then now it's like, I don't know if it's the number one selling in the world, but it's definitely up there. I see them everywhere. So
pretty cool, dude.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I see him on the guys seating me at the table at the Uray Brewery, and I see some lady walking her dog down at the park wearing the things. And
that doesn't tell you the Michael Jordan. I mean, sure, he felt the same way, right? Like I've read, you know, Shoe Dog Millionaire. I've read a lot. I keep up on a lot of athletes. I know that you're a humble guy, but I mean, I want to go back a little bit because what you were originally just running marathons is what you were saying in the beginning.
Well, I've only run one road marathon in my life, and that was St. George 1991. I ran 2:48 and change, so not bad, but not an elite level. But I don't really like road racing. Once I discovered trail running in Utah, road racing was like, why? You know, I want to do this. So I did train for that one St. George Marathon with a friend of mine, and he ran, I think I beat him by 3 minutes, but we ran together the whole time. And it was cool that we did that, but right when that race was over, it was the fall of '91. I was like, I don't really care to run a road marathon. And then the Pikes Peak idea came up where they have an ascent race and a marathon race there on the weekend. And, Saturday's the ascent, Sunday's a marathon. I ran the ascent race 2 years in a row and did well. I was top 20 out of 800 runners, nowhere near as fast as the guys as Carpenter would run or some of the other Mexican guys. But why would I run a marathon down the mountain? That's, you're slamming yourself. And then then I run the marathon and realize that this is cool, But then again, like I mentioned earlier, then the idea of the Wasatch 100 was brought to me. And I had no clue what to expect. I mean, I had a waist
How far
belt.
were you running at that point in time? Like,
What's that?
What was your top mileage under your belt before you go from 26 miles to 100?
50 miles a week.
So
in the mountains, not on the road. It's not like I'm running on easy roads. But
so how do you make that mental gap that I can get from 26 to 100?
Yeah, good question. That mental gap kind of comes from, you have to understand, like, even as I coach people, I've been coaching people for almost 20 years now, and they ask me the same question, kind of like, don't I need my long run to be 40 miles? Don't I need my long run to be, extra long? And it's different because what happens between your ears after, say, mile 30, I mean, you're already kind of sore, right? You're getting kind of sore after mile 30, even if you're moving slower than like a road marathon, but you're sore. It becomes a different game of, fueling and hydration and like what you can keep, how you can stay positive the whole time. I mean, that staying positive is like the biggest thing. I mean, most people, when they drop out of races, including myself, I've dropped out of, a number, and it's 95% of the time it's between your ears. If you have something that's, my quad is sore on the downhills, well, no shit, you're at mile 60, right? Of course your quad's sore. You have to learn how to expect those challenges, and I was good at accepting those challenges. But my longest runs, I would use a 50K as a training race to say, hey, this is my longest run. I didn't do training where I'm up to 140 miles a week like some guys do now. I mean, they're running faster than I did, now they're running faster and they're doing more mileage which is probably beneficial for it. But at the same time, that just wasn't my thing. I mean, I ran hard a lot. If I ran 50 miles in a week, I had 15,000 feet of gain on that 50 miles. And I was running up all the gain. I wasn't walking.
Oh, I heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've listened to Goggins' book, but he says, as he's going through his mental struggles, he says, and all of a sudden I see this guy jumping around a hill with a light, and he said, you just look like a kangaroo or something going up the mountain. And so I think I want to talk about that stuff that's going to be in your head, because I think that there's a lot of that kind of, I think that runners are tough. Like, it's interesting that you mentioned that you're laid back. My wife is the opposite of laid back. She's very high strung, but she's also a super competitive, and she's a dog. I mean, she's 55 and she could do 10 miles like off the couch like nothing. I'm sure she could go compete in a marathon without training that hard because she keeps running all the time.
Right. She's consistent.
She's very consistent. I can never beat her. I mean, it's like, and I don't ever plan on it. She's kind of like the person that I look up to in that regard, that it's cool to have her as my partner, right? Like somebody who's out there every day, who's always down for a run. Yeah. But for you, what's that conversation in your head like? I know you kind of hinted at it, but what are you talking to yourself about?
Well, I mean, when I was younger, when David Goggins saw me, he's probably referring to the Hurt 100, where in Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So that course in particular is probably one of the most technical I've ever been on. Very rooty, slippery, rocky, muddy, wet, very easy to crash. So I was probably in my mid-30s then, and I was confident, like nowadays there's no way I'm running that trail. Even if I was fresh, even for 5 miles of a downhill, would I run it that fast? Because I just don't have I don't want to crash, I don't have that confidence anymore to go that quickly. But what he saw there was like me at my peak when I was just, fearless. When you see videos of Killing Jornet running downhill and he's super fast, and and I wasn't as fast as Killian ever is, but I was still pretty quick, and I was just good at that. It was my sort of my forte. And I go all the way back to, what's funny is I go back to my high school years, where I wasn't really a very good track runner. My best mile was 4:27, which isn't bad. Well, it's good, but it's not. But it's not elite top 4:05, 4:10 miles that guys are doing now.
Yeah.
And I ran that one time. The other times was like 4:37 or higher. So, but when I got on the cross country course, I was at the top of the field every time, because for some reason I was better, was more nimble over the rocks. I was better on the junk. I was better on the hills. I was always the kid on the team that said, we're pushing all the hills. I always sort of got into the ruggedness of the woods.
You're a grinder.
I was a grinder, and I grew up in the woods. Like I said, I grew up running around the woods with my friends, and that sort of translated to where I had got that skill set. People that learn, when they learn to just run track. Sometimes these guys that can run a 4:20 mile or better, but they get in the junk and the hills, and they're just not the same runner. But I was just all about the hills and the mountains. So I just used my strength. I practiced it a lot. I did it every single day before I went to work and bartended at night in the summertime, and I even ran more in the winter too. And skiing is also a good background for that, because I don't know if you ski or not, but if you ski, when you're skiing, you're basically standing on the center of your skis, your center of balance, right? So and Killian's a great skier too, right? So it totally translates to being a good downhill and uphill mountain runner too. So I had the background. I grew up skiing when I was 3 years old, so I can ski anything, anything. Don't ski like I used to now, but it's the background I had when I was young. The whole thing sort of tied together when I moved to Utah. And that one conversation I had before I moved to Utah was just a friend saying, "Hey, let's go to Big Sky, Montana next winter and ski." And I was like,
"I'd rather go to ski."
Sold. I'm in.
That place is awesome.
It is awesome, and we ended up going to Jackson, which is also awesome. But we ended up in Salt Lake with Snowbird and Alta because of they just got more snow. The terrain was great, so we ended up in Salt Lake. But it was, I've made some decisions in my life. That was one of them that changed my world. That changed my world. The shoe changed my world. How I met my wife changed my world. All kinds of things like that was really just. I like to say things fall in my lap, and I just kind of let them come to me, and it's crazy, but that's sort of how my world has been. I've been very, very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time a number of times.
Well, you're out there a lot, right? Like, you're putting in the work. And
yeah, I mean, I did my homework for sure. Not in school though, and we did it on the trail.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So just curious, I haven't even researched your times, but what are you clocking pace wise? I've been fortunate enough to watch my wife run a lot of. She's done the we lived in Las Vegas. She's done a bunch of marathons. I've always gone to the finish line and watched all the elites come in. Mm-hmm. It's very inspiring. What were you clocking on these average pace per mile?
Well, I mean, it's hard to judge because I'm so much on trail and I'm running on rugged trail. But for instance, if you look back at, just for a reference, 2:48:40, which is my marathon time, that's about a 6:15 pace per mile. So it's good, but it's hardly elite. A lot of the elite runners now can run a sub 2:20 marathon, or at least under 2:25. I never could even be remotely close to that. But if you get on the trails, like let's for instance say like the Wasatch 100, which gains 25,000 feet of climb, it's rocky, it's rugged. Temps are usually decent, okay, a little warm in the day. If you run it in 20 hours, you're running a 12-minute mile. So you can use that as a reference point. At a Hard Rock, which is a much harder race in the San Juans, my best time was 24:38. So there you're looking at about a 13.5-minute mile, which is not pedestrian, but it's not pedestrian at 12,000, 13,000 feet in the mountains,
No.
It's pretty fast. The record's a lot faster now at Hard Rock than that. It's 3 hours faster, but I mean, some of the hundreds that I'll run that aren't as technical, my best 100-mile time was 14:18. The world record is like under 11, so, we'll get away from that fast guy. But 14:38 is about an 8:40 per mile.
Wow.
And that was at Rocky Raccoon 100, which is it's a trail, all trail, but it was pretty flat and twisty kind of.
Yeah.
But most of the other hundreds that you run, if they're kind of hilly on the East Coast, they're range anywhere from say 15 and a half to 16 hours to 20-ish hours.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people like, I try to stay in the mountains. I'm from Washington State. I live in Kansas City right now. But me and my buddy were hiking the Mount Si, which is out in
Yep, I know
Washington
that one.
State. I'm actually heading there on Saturday.
Nice.
And I remember seeing some girl just hauling ass. We're hiking, and it's a pretty. And you've been up to Mount Si. It's a pretty decent incline.
Yep.
And this chick's just running up it. I'm like, damn, like, how do you go that fast?
That's what I see in Ouray, I live in Ridgeway, Colorado now, so Southwest Colorado, and I live near Ouray. And it's funny you say that because I'm in that place now where I see people zoom by me. I was parked at the trailhead of it's called Bridge of Heaven, but it's a real steep trail going up, and I was standing in my car, and a girl comes down the road, and she turns onto the trail and gets to the trailhead, and tick, 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 up she goes, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I won't be catching her. And, and I didn't, of course. Never saw her again. And I only started like a minute behind her. And then same with the guy, came from below and passed me. And that's just the result of age. He just gets slower.
Right.
People are doing amazing things in the mountains. What people are doing, Tara Dower's recent long trail record, out of control fast. And then the times at like UTMB and Hard Rock and Western States. I mean, Western States, as an example, 14:09 is a record. That means you're running like about a 7-minute mile. That's pretty for 100 miles.
That's a lot. It's a gangster, man. I've heard about like these 100-mile races, these 250-mile races. I mean, it's just incredible to see that you can go for that long. And even when you started, as you know, there wasn't the iPod, there wasn't the phone, so you just are there by yourself, raw dogging it. And like, do you go and run with music these days, or?
Well, let me tell you a little story about running with music. So, Hard Rock 2001, and back then it was the Sony Walkman, right?
I remember, yeah.
That's what it was.
The yellow one.
Yeah, I had a silver one, I think, but I didn't even have auto reverse on mine. So I had a waist belt. I still wear waist belts, but I had the waist belt, and I had a clip on the back. I clipped it on the back, and it's sitting there. Put it in a plastic bag in case it got wet, But I could reach back behind there after maybe 40 minutes of music, flip the tape over, and put the tape back in. Open it up, put the tape back in without even looking at going at top speed. Still do it. And nowadays, obviously, what I don't like is there's no iPod Shuffle now. That's the greatest music device ever invented on Earth. Is that it's a square inch. The Shuffle was the greatest. Now we have to use our damn phones again. And I know there's other devices too, but it changed because now I can't just clip this thing on my collar. That was the greatest thing ever. I always
heard of that. It's like one of those little mini shuffles. And
it's like super small and it weighs nothing. It holds music for, you can play music for 12, 13, 14 hours. If you just buy 2 of them, and then for a 100-miler, you're not carrying this. I hate carrying my phone when I run. I hate it.
Oh, it's a pain in the ass, dude.
It's a pain in the ass. And
I did it this morning. I ran like 4.5 miles, and I'm sitting there moving it from hand to hand. And
yeah, I got it wired in my little belt and stuff, and that's all. It works fine, but I don't need a phone. I'm very old school. If I go to a course in a race, you can load your GPX file on your phone, and you can follow yourself on all trails and all these things. And I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I see someone in a race standing there looking at their phone to make sure that their little blue dot is on the line, I kind of laugh and say, well, I'm just following the reflectors, I'm following the markers. I'm not looking at my phone to keep on track. So, I am. I'm very old school. I have a Casio watch. I don't have a Sun 2 or a Garmin or a Coros or any watch like that. I know that it tells time. I know what time of day it is. And honestly, because I've been running trails so long, I can tell you what my pace is probably within 30 seconds every time. Without even looking at a watch and say how fast we're going and how far it will be to the next spot or whatever. I'm just so used to it.
So who do you what's a guy like you? Who do you train with? Like when you're at that level, like who are you finding? I'm imagining most of the time it's by yourself because
I mostly do train by myself, but that's just because the convenience factor too. Like because I've made myself a runner and not like have a real job. I run in the mornings, so I run in the mornings when it's a little bit cooler. So I just usually won't run with other people. not because I don't want to. It's just kind of how it pans out. I did have some friends in Salt Lake that I'd run with maybe once a week or something. But I was always a little bit faster than my buddy, which was great for training because it made me push, it made him push. It really was beneficial. So I'm not saying it's bad to run with other people. I think it's probably good, but I just like being out there on my own, kind of self-sufficient, you know. Sometimes it's fair to say that I've taken a few risks out there, not necessarily with exposure on mountains. I'm not the biggest fan of exposure, but I've been out in the wilderness, way out there, you know, and you never know like what's really going to happen. You can fall and crash at any moment, you know, especially when I was on the Appalachian Trail.
Right.
Even though we had my crew on each side of the start and the finish of each section, they could have been 8-10 miles away from me. I could have crashed, smacked my head, and been laying there.
Yeah.
You know, it happens, unfortunately. But I've taken those risks, but I try to manage my risks well without being too dangerous. I don't do too many.
You're clocking like what? I think I saw the documentary. You're clocking like 47 miles a day, or what, how many miles a day?
Yeah, it was about 47 and change, I think. I mean, now it's like my record was 45 days, 22 hours and change, and now it's under 41, you know, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, when I broke the record, my goal was to break Scott Jurek's time of 46 days, 8 hours.
Didn't he help you? Wasn't he there to help you?
Yeah, he was there, and I helped him too when he broke his record. We helped each other. We've known each other forever. I ran with him in Hong Kong twice as a teammate and stuff, so we're good friends. But yeah, I helped him when he broke the record in kind of the middle section of his AT run, and then the following year I went back, and Scott came back for the last like 6 to 10 days or something. But you know, we like to see each other succeed and do well, but I was chasing his record. I wasn't chasing 40 days like they are now. So my goal was like to sort of be just, you know, break Scott's time. And, you know, I broke about like 10 hours or something. But nowadays, and I wasn't really very efficient. At the end of the day, if you look at it, I stopped a lot of days at like 6:30 in the evening when I could easily have gone for 3 more hours, which is when
are you starting?
Well, just at wherever you slept in your van.
Well, I mean, like what time?
What time?
Yeah,
in the
like
morning?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. 5 a.m. was mostly my start time.
So you're running 13 hours a day.
Yeah, but you know, in order to go faster, you must be out there longer. You don't really have to go. If you average 3 miles an hour, that's fast enough.
Yeah.
Because 17 hours times 3 is 51 miles a day, and you know, that's basically a fast walk on a trail. So it's not, you know, it doesn't sound fast. It's fast in Maine and New Hampshire on the trail because the trail is super ugly.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of that, you know, 45 days, doing that for 45 days in a row is, it's a mind boggler. But I wasn't very efficient. I could have slept on the trail as they're doing now. Christian Morgan's on the trail right now. And Tara, what she did last year, they go till 10 at night every night, regardless of where they're going to stop. And then someone sets up a camp for them and that kind of thing. I didn't do any of that.
But everybody remembers Roger Bannister, and I think that you're the Roger Bannister of this type. I mean, you know, I'd say between you and Dean, honestly, because, I mean, you broke the barrier on a lot of these mental barriers that people had, and they wouldn't even be attempting these types of feats if you hadn't laid the groundwork.
Yeah, you know, you're kind of right. Scott Jurek and I both sort of laid a little groundwork. Scott did his thing at Western, winning 7 times in a row, starting in '99. So he was, you know, I won at Wasatch in '98, so we're right in the same era. He was a little younger than I am, but still the same era. When I won Hard Rock in 2001 and broke the record by 3 hours, when no one thought that would ever be broken until I'm dead, well, I don't think so. But I sort of brought it to the attention, and Sports Illustrated put an article out there with me in it, and National Geographic did a little film. That brought more attention to it, along with Dean's book at the same time, kind of. We sort of jump-started things, and then when fall of 2007 came around, Backcountry.com was a sponsor of mine. 2 guys that own that company were friends of mine that I skied with as ski bums. But they're like, well, what do you want to do? And I came up with this idea of where'skarl.com. I'll do the AT, we'll blog, we'll talk about it, we'll give prizes out, stuff like that. And it was a lot more complicated than you think to put that together, but we did, and that brought more awareness to the AT kind of thing. And Jen Farr Davis had let's see, I was chasing Andrew Thompson's record at that time, which was 47:13. And so I was only chasing Andrew Thompson's time, but that's what brought more awareness to it. Then Jen Farr broke the record when I didn't. And then a woman had the record, which was a big thing.
Yeah.
And then like, more awareness came to it. Then I went after it again. And then it just became more popular with the FKT stuff, and that sort of did jumpstart things.
I was surprised. I was checking, there's an influencer who I like to follow. Him and his son are big runners. I don't know if you know who Cameron Haynes is.
I know Cameron Haynes. I know of Cameron Haynes, yeah. Didn't he run around the U.S. all the way?
I don't know.
Well, that's Cameron Balzer, someone else.
Cam Haynes, he's kind of an influencer guy. He just popped. He's been on Rogan before. And one thing that was interesting, they just finished a race. I forget what it was called, but him and his son did it. And I know you have a good relationship with you and your father. He ran with you and he helped you out on the AP. But one thing that I found interesting that you're mentioning is that I looked up, prior to our conversation, the top 25 finishers, and there was a lot of them were women in that top.
Mm-hmm. Women are tough, man. We're seeing. I coached Tara for a little while before she exploded into doing as well as she's doing. The Appalachian Trail long trail record at the same time held by a woman. That is like don't get me wrong here. I think the longer you go, the more level the playing field actually gets, because you don't have to go fast. Going 3 miles an hour, like I said before, 3 miles an hour is fast on the AT. On the long trail, which she just did, doing 70 miles a day, and that trail is New England hard. It's hard, believe me. Super technical. If you've never been there, I can't even imagine telling you what it's like. It's really tough. But it's the mental thing, if you speak with a bunch of other women too that do FKTs, they'll tell you the same thing. It's like it's so in your head that, whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. When
you start going further, yes, the men's world record of the marathon is 10-ish minutes faster than the women's or something, that's just a gender thing. But it's women are raising the bar, man. And it's like, we used to laugh about it back in the early 2000s. We'd be Scott Jurek and Torrance, Hal Kerner, Dave Terry, Ben Zabrowski, Karl Meltzer. We all talked about getting chicked. And, right? And it all was a joke, It's a total joke. And the women that we knew, which would have been like Ellie Greenwood and Nikki Kimball and some of those girls who were great, we'd all joke around afterwards and talk about getting chicked. I'm like, you're not going to chick me this time, And those girls were just about as fast as we were. They're running. Yeah, they're a little bit slower in the 50 mile or the 100, but not much, So nowadays I get chicked by everybody, and I'm like, all right, I get chicked all the time. But it's just a good play on words, Some people get offended a few, but it's like it's all a joke.
Like, dude, people are too sensitive. Like, get a freaking life. You know what I mean? Like, it's
sense of humor. I try to. My world is. I like to always have a sense of humor. I'm a little sarcastic. Sometimes I go a little over the top with some things that I say, but that's just who I am, I'm not going to change. It's just, I like to be sarcastic and entertaining, and that's kind of like, my world I've been doing that for 57 years. Never going to grow up. No way.
I don't think I will either. I look at it the same thing. I feel like I'm the same age as I was as a kid. Yeah. I feel it's the same mentally. Maybe I know a little bit more and I'm a little bit smarter, right. But I think that you still have fear, you still have anxiety, you still have all these other things that maybe you didn't have as a kid when you were loose and kind of not worried about anything other than not being able to do what you wanted to do. And then you're an adult and you can do whatever you want to do and you don't do it. Man, I am so happy that you turned into the Millionaire Mentorship Podcast. It's something that I've been working on for over 3 years right now. We're up to 150 podcast episodes. A lot of them are virtual. A lot of them are in studio, which is what we prefer. If you have a guest that you think that should be on our podcast, all you gotta do is comment who it is and we'll reach out to them. Or if you want to reach out to them and reach out to us, we'd love to have them on a show. We're looking for entertaining, inspirational people that, just like you hear on the podcast every week, that can bring value and help our listening audience achieve their goals. If that's something for you, comment down below and let us know. So, and you kind of talked a little bit earlier that I thought was interesting. You're like, well, I don't have a job. I would argue that your job of running is a lot harder than, people sitting at a gas station or, or doing whatever. Like I bartended for years and if you tell me, hey, go bartend for 8 hours or work a double, I worked at doubles at Red Robin in Issaquah, Washington, where I grew up for years. I would take that all day long versus running 15 hours straight or 22 hours.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I say I don't have a job, it's because I don't feel like running is a job. I get out. I know 15 hours is certainly a long time to be out there, and that's the triple shift you're working overnight, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, I would much rather be being out there suffering than I would be working my third double in a row, 15-hour shift, bartending or banquet serving or whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
And what I like now so much about my life too is because I coach people online, and I run, I make my own hours. I mean, for the most part, I'm not connected to having to be somewhere at a certain time unless I miss a podcast. But
You were on time, dude. We're releasing.
it's funny. I played golf this morning. I fell asleep on the couch. On the phone rang. I was like, oh shit. But anyway, but the beauty of it is that, my job is running. I don't feel like it's a job. My job is coaching. I don't really feel like it's my job because I'm helping people, but at the same time, I know it, and I know it from experience. And it's not hard for me to, answer 95% of the questions with just coming right off the top of my head,
Yeah,
this can help you.
It's real world application.
What's that?
It's real world application. Everything.
Yeah.
All the answers to the questions that people have, you've already been through it in real time.
Right.
So it's not like there's anything for you. You're just telling people knowledge that you have acquired over the 57 years of your life.
And that's my world has always been. And I hated school. So,
amen.
Whether I was young or in high school, whatever, I hated studying. I did not study very much, but I learned all these things by doing. I'm more of if I was not a runner, so to speak, I wouldn't have been the kid that went to college and got a PhD in something. I would have had to have been some type of tradesman where I would do very well at it because once I get good at something, I'm very particular. But I need to be doing something. I need to learn by doing, and that's what running has been, is learning by doing. All the mistakes that I've made, whether it's been nutrition on a race or, wrong turn, not read, stuff, those come from real true life experiences. And I think, it's great to know the book smart part of things. Nothing wrong with that, of course not. But I think the real world is being out there. It's not just like diving your head in the book and saying, this is the reason your tempo runs aren't as fast because this, that, and the other. And it's like, I'll let you know if it's fast or not, or if I'm tired, I'm breathing hard, I'm sucking wind, I'm tired. I'm a very simple person, but it's worked for me.
It's interesting. You mentioned golf several times, and so I have had a lot of golf coaches, and confused, been out there trying to get, really have not got under 90 much, like if ever. Maybe I've had an 89, 88 once or twice, and I would say, boils down to everything is how bad you want it, right? Yep. And eventually I realized, I don't really want to be that good at golf. I just want to play it when I can play it and not be that guy. But one thing that one of my coaches said to me, he goes, it's mental for you. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? He assessed it, and I realized it is, because I can play, 9 great holes, and then everything goes wrong and nothing changed. Yeah. So I imagine you're probably a pretty good golfer if you play a lot of golf, because you seem like you're an obsessive guy, and you've got it figured out in the head because you have the mental game. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about your golf.
Well, my handicap's about 5, which means I shoot, if I break 80, I'm happy. I've broken par a number of times when I play extra well, got a really good short game. Long game is always, golf is golf. but I can hit it pretty well. I've been playing since I was about 8 or 10 years old, so I've been playing a long time. And like you said, like, you don't really care to be a scratch golfer. You're shooting 88, 89. Like, your goal is to play bogey golf, right? That's fine. Right? My goal is to hit par, but I do it very often? No. Just every once in a great while, the stars align a little bit. But the beauty of the game is that every single shot is different. Every single shot is different from every direction. I mean, when you make a hole-in-one, it's really cool. I've had 4 hole-in-ones. That's like the coolest thing ever, you know.
It is cool.
I really enjoy the game, and when I don't play well when I'm out there, it doesn't really matter to me. The point is that I'm out there doing what I like to do, and that's, I mean, people that get upset and throw their clubs and get, you know, upset about bad shots, whatever, leave that for the pros. They're making the millions of dollars, you know. I get it when they mess up, you know, but us guys out
on
there
national
just batting it
TV.
around.
Yeah.
You know, I just like to be out there. And every morning, like I play about 3 times a week now. I've got a membership in town, country club, and I'm like, it's like the greatest thing ever. You know, it's nice and early in the morning. It's nice out.
Are you walking it, I'm guessing, or are you driving?
It depends on who we're playing with sometimes, you know. I walked today, but it just depends. Sometimes you drive, sometimes you walk. I like walking better.
Yeah, I would
I
imagine.
play better when I walk.
Are you running?
I've done some of that too. I mean, if you haven't heard, I mean, I played in the Speed Golf World Championships before.
No, I've not heard of that.
Okay, you haven't seen this. This is like a short 2 or 3 year span of my life where a friend of mine, or we'll call him a follower, Tim Scott, who became a friend later, but he followed my running career a little bit, and he was playing golf on the web.com tour, if you remember that, years ago. Really good player. He contacts me and says, "Hey, you have any interest in playing in the Speed Golf World Championships? It's at Bandon Dunes, Oregon."
Yeah.
And Bandon Dunes is amazing golf place.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And I was like, Bandon Dunes, $250. We get two free rounds. We get 2 days of tournament play. I'm like, I'm in. So, but the point of speed golf is you play with just a few clubs. Usually we played with like 4 or 5 clubs. And today I played with 6 clubs today, actually. It was kind of funny. But anyway, you play around as fast as you can, and whatever your score is, you add that to your time, and that becomes your score. So if you was to say you shoot 90 in an hour, you get 60 plus 90, your score is 150.
Right.
That's the simple way to look at it. So my best score is I shot 82 in 48 minutes.
Wow.
So, you know, my score was, 182 and 48, 138 or something. But the guys that are really good, they'll shoot under par and play the round in 40 minutes.
Wow.
Which is amazing at Bandon Dunes.
You're getting
incredible.
gassed. You're getting gassed in between shots.
Oh yeah, and you're sprinting to your shot. You're taking a breath. You're throwing your clubs on the ground, picking them up, and running to the next one. You're putting with your clubs in your hand. You're one-handed. You're going as fast as you can. And it's funny. When I went to Bandon, I played in it twice, and there was about 32 of us or 36 of us that played. That they were all invited. Bernard Lagat played. I don't know if you remember him. He's a track runner. He's an Olympic gold medalist in 1500. Nick Willis, another super hot top flight miler from Australia, or maybe New Zealand. They played. I was like, Bernard Lagat and Nick are playing. I gotta go. Watching those guys run were great. Bernard was a terrible golfer, but watching him run across the fairway was beautiful. So I went, and there was 32 of us the first year, and I think I shot 89 in like 52, and I shot 88 in 56 minutes or something. And I came in last out of the 32 people. I came in last. And it was a little like, man, I came in last. Man, I never came in last before, you know?
You're not used to that.
But the point is that I got to go to Bandon Dunes. I got to hang out with these guys, have a couple beers with Bernard and with Nick and some other really cool guys I met. And then I went, that happened. And then Tim Scott said, Tim actually came down with ocular melanoma, which was cured. So eye cancer, basically. And he did a charity event at Napa Valley Golf Course, which is just kind of a basic golf course in Napa. And we got to play for 12 hours on the course. There was 8 of us. Play as many holes as you can. And we raised money for charity, for the charity. So we raised a bunch of money, and I played 236 holes in 12 hours. So essentially 100K running with golf clubs in the ball.
Right.
Your score didn't matter, so I was, what I shot was probably like in the 90s every time. But the point is that we raised money, and it was another kind of crazy part of my life where we're doing a speed golf thing. I played one round with just a 6-iron, no other clubs, just 6-iron. But it was super fun. I was glad to have the opportunity to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So golf's always been part of my life. It's always been a recreation thing.
Yeah,
I've never really
I didn't have
competed
any
much,
idea
but
about that part of your life.
it's cool,
Yeah.
who gets to do that crap, you know?
So, the driving range. Are you on the driving range at all, or are you just playing?
I just play. When I meet the guys down at the golf course right now, I meet you on the first tee, boom, here we go.
Did you ever put any time in there? Because I know you're putting enough time in on the course that you don't need to, and your game's tight. Mm-hmm. But for those of us who aren't, what would you recommend?
I'm not your best model. I'm not your best model. But when I was young, I played like in my high school years when I had a membership at a golf course. My parents would get it for $80 a year, right?
Yeah.
I'd ride my bike to the golf course. I'd play 36, 45 holes every single day. Just go to the tee box, tee it up, play till it got dark, ride my bike home. So I played a lot of golf like that. If you're just learning to play and you're older, especially if you're older, it becomes harder to learn things as you get older.
Yeah.
You take someone off the street and say, have they ever swung a golf club? No. Okay, you're going to learn to play golf today. Well, it's more difficult than that. I never went to the range. I never did that. The more I go to the range, the worse I get.
Yeah.
So I'm better off if I just go play and just try to, if I start up my round off pretty good, then, you can, when you're a golfer, you can sort of, when your day is going to be good or bad. It's just
not
one day.
The first tee either.
What's that?
It's not always the first tee
No.
that's going to dictate that. You could have a shitty first shanked shot, and the next thing you know, you're playing a round out of your mind.
Yeah, it is. That's what's so great about the game is that you never know what's around the next corner, and that's why I love it so much. But yeah, I've done all kinds of stuff like that. I've played, we play in scramble tournaments with my friends. We've actually won a couple before. When I have a couple good buddies, we're all about the same. So when you get 4 guys that are about 5 to 10 handicaps, if you get lucky and have a good day, you can win something. But generally speaking, I mean, when I was young in high school, I go back to high school a lot, but I was a second place in the state championship in New Hampshire when I was in high school. But I wasn't the caliber. It was like that 427 mile. I wasn't the caliber of the 405 guy. My rounds were in the mid 70s. They weren't. I wasn't Charlie Woods shooting 67 or these kids that are shooting under par all the time. I was not that.
The golf game's incredible right now. It's the same type of thing that you talked about.
It's so hard. It's such a hard game, and it's but that's what makes.
Who do you think the best runner is right now? Well, I'm probably putting you on the spot. Who do you think some of the best runners are out there right now, and who do you think some of the best golfers are right now?
Well, it's easy to say the best golfer is Scheffler right now,
right?
Because he's playing so great. But all those guys are that good. The thing is, like, they're all that good. Who can be the most consistent to be the best? Obviously, Scotty's the best right now. Tiger's the greatest of all time. Jack didn't have as much competition, but Jack was the greatest in his era. Just like runners in their era,
Yeah.
But as far as runners right now, I mean, I think in terms of mountain running, there's no one better than Kilian Jornet. And he sort of strays away from competition sometimes. I know he didn't win Western; he was third. He didn't win. That race isn't really his forte. He's Alps, He's more in the bigger mountains. But I think from an overall standpoint, Kilian is the model that we all would love to be at,
Yeah.
Plus his mountaineering experience makes him that much better in some certain technical running situations. But then you get to the faster guys where, at least in the era right now, Jim Walmsley, when he's in top form, is faster than Kilian at Western probably, because that's just more his forte. But then Jim also showed up at UTMB and has the record. So I think over a long span of time, it's been Kilian. But we've seen Courtney Dauwalter. I mean, she has been. That girl I raced her twice. I've been chicked by her twice, and I'll always be chicked by her at this point. But I remember seeing her pass me at Runner Rabbit Run 100. It was the first. It wasn't the first year I ran, but I was like, "Who's that?" This girl in basketball shorts. She smoked it, and then from that point on, that girl has just been on fire. And from a woman's standpoint, she's the best.
Yeah.
Even better than. I know Ann Trayson was a different era, but I think Courtney is toppled what Ann's done, especially in the trails and the mountains. Ann had some records that were flatter 100K things, like 24-hour things, but Courtney is Courtney and Kilian. They'll be the two of those Courtney and girl and guy, but are the best. But then you've got Francois, you've got I mean, you've got so many other Frenchmen. You saw, if you see at Hard Rock, there's a French sweep, right? three,
Yeah.
three guys from France win, right? That what that does tell you though is that the Alps are a different breed than.
I've been there. I've been to the
Yeah, me
Alps in
too.
Switzerland. I saw people cruising up in Switzerland too, and I'm
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, those mountains that's where the best mountain runners are bred, I think, in general. The mountains aren't higher than Colorado, but the valleys are deeper, so you just have bigger, longer climbs, and they're just used to that. You look at what Ludo, the guy who won Hard Rock this year, the last 2 years, his numbers per week are like 45,000 feet of gain with 150 miles.
what's your maintenance, I guess, right now for yourself? Like you're obviously playing 3 rounds a week of golf. What are you doing on the running side of things, Carl?
I'm being 57 years old. You do not recover as fast as you did when you're younger, and unfortunately, I think for everybody too, the curve keeps getting steeper until it goes straight up. Right?
Yeah.
It's going to be vertical eventually, but it's getting steeper. And for me, if I can't, I run 40 to 50 miles a week now, and a lot of those miles are hiking miles. And living in the San Juans, Southwest Colorado, the mountains are really steep. I can't run that stuff.
Is
I'm
that
hiking.
close to Montrose?
Yeah, just south of Montrose, about 30 miles.
Yeah, I love that river there. We stayed there in a
Gunnison.
campground a couple times. It's
Uncompahgre.
Uncompahgre, yeah.
Yep.
That's like a whole Zen like hiking culture, business, everything, fishing, kayaking. Like we just randomly showed up in that town. I thought I was going to the Colorado River for a campsite and ended up picking the Uncompahgre River. And I was like, everything we were around. Like the founder of Target has a place there, and like
Ralph Lauren, Neil Young.
Yeah.
Dennis
like,
Weaver.
Yeah, like it's just an. I almost bought a piece of real estate there. I was trying to buy an RV park.
Yeah, it's the place. I mean, I live in Ridgeway, just barely north of Uray, and so I run near Uray in those mountains all the time, or hike, I should say. But that's my training ground now. So if I go out and do a 6 mile run, or I call it a run, but I might get 3,000 feet of gain, and then I'd run up or go up 3,000 feet, and I'll come back. I'll run back down 6 miles. Right? Oh, I ran almost 6 miles today, but it took me an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's very different. So like my training has become more fast hiking, more or less jogging downhill as opposed to really bombing down like I used to when I was younger.
What was your peak training schedule like?
What is it? My training schedule?
When you were peaking, like when you said you were at the Hurt 100 and you were like,
Yeah.
What was that training schedule like per week?
60 to 70 miles in the mountains around Salt Lake City, which are all steep and rocky and tough. Altitude between, say, 8 and 11, or maybe 7 and 11. So in that 60 to 70 miles, I probably would do, it depends, between 15 and 18, 15 to 20,000 feet of climb. So, that's about half the amount. It's even less than half the amount what I mentioned Ludo doing before Hard Rock, but that worked for me. I ran hard a lot. I mean, every time I ran uphill to White Pine Lake or to the top of the Pfeifferhorn or something like that, I ran it all. And I wasn't, my heart rate was close to max. I wasn't slogging, there was no easy days when I was younger. I just ran everything hard all the time. Whether that was the right thing to do or not, at this point, I'd say
It's just gritty, man.
I mean, it's killer. I would say it's the right thing at this point, but now I'm a lot slower, and I don't. I mean, I bring my watch with me, but I don't care what my time is anymore. I just get out there, and the fact that I'm still running for Hoka, I'm still on the team, so to speak. I'm still like doing it is all that really matters, and I just like being in the mountains, and it doesn't matter how fast I go anymore.
What would you tell like a younger version of yourself? Is there anything that you would do different? I mean, you've done everything, but I'm just curious. Like you look at life as like moving forward, I'll do this, or moving backwards, I do this. Like, what would you tell your younger self, Carl?
Don't drink so much beer.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, that's.
I haven't drank in 18 years, so.
No, good for you. Good for you. I can't say that, but I mean, that's not really the only thing. But I think if I look back, I think what I did, what we see a lot now is, you see a lot of guys getting into ultra running in their 20s. When I first ran, my very first ultra was Wasatch 100, 1996. I was almost 29, so I was almost 30. there was probably 4 or 5 people that were under 30 years old in that race. Up for the next, even for the next 10 years,
Right.
under 30 was rare. And nowadays, you got a lot of guys that are in their 20s. All the fast guys are in their 20s, the fastest guys. And it was different then. I kind of think I'm glad the way I did it, because if you think about my career, I'm 57 still doing it. The longevity factor, I mean, I've been running and racing since I moved to Utah in 89. So you're looking at 30 plus years, 35 years, which is nuts to think that, but 35 years, I'm still not really, I mean, I'm a little rickety and I'm a little, I get out of bed a little slower, but I'm not injured, my longevity has been good because I did not rack up 140-mile weeks with massive amounts of vertical in my 20s. Yeah. I mean, there's some exceptions out there. Killian's one of them. I mean, he's closing in on 40 already now, which I remember when he was like 22, Yeah. But he's closing in on 40 now, and he's still super rock solid bomber, and he will be rock solid bomber until he's mid 50s probably. A lot of other guys can come and go.
Or anything?
What's that?
Do you stretch, or how do you keep your body in shape with all that mileage?
I don't stretch. I hate stretching.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I do.
I don't think anybody likes to stretch, but who likes to stretch? But unless yoga people, but I don't know. I don't stretch much, but I do stay in tune with like what my body's capable of every day. So if I go out and run and I'm just not feeling it, I'll back off the throttle. If I'm having a good day and things are clicking, then I'll go a little further. And the beauty is that I have the time to do that. I'm not really restrained to being at the office at 9 a.m. or something like that. But I kind of play my cards like that a lot. I run on feel primarily all the time, as opposed to I know I make schedules for others, but there's always that loose, you've got to run on feel a little bit to maximize what you're getting out of it. And, I don't really, I don't stretch. I said I don't stretch, but I definitely move my body and I massage my body on my own. I don't go see I don't see therapists and massage people, and I don't get any cupping or all this other needling crap. I'm not against it, but I don't think a lot of that stuff really matters. I think it's what's in your head, and knowing your body and what you're capable of every single day is really important.
So I have a follow-up question on that. So how do you get in tune with it the way you are? Because I think that's very important. That's a very profound statement you said, because I'm guilty of everything. I've done massages, I've done yoga, I've done everything, but I'm not as hard as you or anywhere close. I'm not even in the same conversation. Like I'm not even on the scraps in the ground. And so I think that I want to really hear what you have to say, because I think that more people identify with where I am, which is just a very basic runner, because you're at the elite of the elite. So people who are trying to get to know what they have in there, how did you develop that?
It's a really good question, and a really tough question to answer. I think that comes again to not reading the book, but having the experience of knowing what you're capable of, right? You can read so many books that someone will say, oh, be fat adaptive and all these things, and don't get me started on all this stuff. But and okay, nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is that I love doing what I do. I love being out there, and I think that's the most important thing. If you get out there every single day, and you give it maybe not your hardest, but your smartest or your best effort, then you're going to probably improve. And over the years of keeping to do that, you learn of what makes you click better and what makes you don't. For me, I've learned that if I don't sleep 8 hours a night, I'm junk.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's easy to fall asleep, man, for you. My wife, she knocks out like crazy because she's expended all her energy.
Right. She brings it to the point, okay, I'm done. Boom, down she goes. I'm sort of the same way, I'm a mover. When we get off our call today, I'll probably lay around for a little bit, but I always, in the evenings, I get out there and I've got to move around. But I listen to my body a lot. Like if I have a little injury, if I'm out on a run, and for instance, let's say something like my shin starts to bother me or something, I'll stop and walk that off, before I push through it to hammer it to actually potentially injure it. I'm very, very in tune with, I hate being injured. No one likes to be injured, right? Yeah. And whether it's a small niggle or not, whenever I get that little sign of something hurting or a cramp comes on or something, I back off the throttle and I say, don't let yourself get hurt. So, and if I got to walk a half a mile and walk it off, sometimes it's just like with a cramp or something, sometimes it's just drink a little more water, or sometimes it's just, your muscles are a little tight, walk it off or something. And I'm very good at not overdoing things. But again, I've learned through the sleep, like I said, is really important. When I did the Pony Express, they did a sleep test on me every single night. I had like a sleep monitor, some wrist thing they gave me. I don't know. It was a Red Bull thing, but every night they get this data. They had all kinds of data for that. And we found that if I slept less than 7.5 hours a night, like they were doing taking notes of what was going on, in the van in the morning in the RV. And when I didn't sleep 7.5, I was a grump. I didn't want to eat breakfast. I was like kind of an ass. Like, oh, I could do this today. Da, da, da. But if I slept 8 hours plus, I was like, all right, we get going. We start at 7, be done by 5, get the beer cold. I'll have a beer when I'm done. We'll go to bed. And it was really that I learned a lot from that,
Yeah.
There's so much other data with that they had that was so over my head that I was just like, it was over my head. I'm like, I know when I need salt. I got it. You don't need to tell me what my salt number is and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've sort of learned that through doing. But I learned to listen to myself and not overdo it a lot and not put myself in a position where injury becomes a real issue. Because once you're injured, it's always a fight to come back, and you always like let's say you pull a calf muscle, and 3 to 4 weeks after you do that, just a minor strain will say 3 to 4 weeks you start to feel better, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for a 6-miler. Well, a 6-miler is a bad idea. You don't go for a 6-miler. You go for a run, and you try to finish that shorter distance without hurting yourself. Then like success. Yeah. The next day you might do something. You don't even look at a distance. You just go short and you success. But every time, what we see a lot is that strain that's healing up, it's together, but it's not really together. Then it tears again, and then you're like back to square one, and then the injuries take forever and forever to heal. I always just been really gradual coming back with my injuries. I haven't had many real nasty injuries, but I've learned how to sort of not make them stretch out to 12, 14, 16 weeks of recovery instead of like 4 or 5 or 6 or something. I got really good at that just by learning on my own of that pushing through something that's hurts a lot is probably a bad idea. And it's worked for me.
There's a lot of wisdom in this conversation, man. I really appreciate, Karl, all of your time. I wanted to ask one last question because I know I've taken a lot of your time and it's very valuable. What inspiration would you tell to the younger generation of just people, runners, golfers? The world's changing rapidly fast. Everybody's sitting behind the computer. People are not moving as much, right? And I feel from this conversation, I'm like, there's a lot of good information, like move more, right? Get less sedentary. A lot of things that I think people know intuitively, but for you to say them, and you have more distractions. What advice would you give to the younger generation?
Get off your phone.
Get off your phone.
I mean, that's the simple piece, right? Of course, right. But generally speaking, is be yourself. Don't. I'm not going to say be selfish because that's not the right word. But in a lot of my growing up and a lot of my earlier years, when I focused on something, if you really like it, put an effort into it and see if it's for you or not. If it doesn't work for you, hey, it doesn't work for you. But be yourself and take advice from others as constructive criticism, and don't always think sometimes people will give you advice, and whether they're your coach or your friend or whatever, and sometimes it's over the top, and it's like, whether you believe it or not is one thing, but just take the advice and say, okay, then evaluate it yourself and say, do I believe that or not? And then, test it out yourself and find out whether it works for you or not. Because there's so many things, so much advice out there. With AI and this chat GPT stuff, there's so many things that are coming up, and there's so much information and misinformation out there. But ultimately, if you do what you want to do all your life, you live your life the way you want to. I like to say, work to live, don't live to work. That's one thing. Live first, die later, but don't be stupid. That's kind of my thing, is live first, die later, but don't do anything really dumb. Live the life that you want to live, and don't necessarily try not to let finances or money get in the way. I mean, granted, we all have to make a living, right? And not everybody is lucky as I am, honestly, to be able to make a living running. But find your niche, find what you really like to do, and then try to achieve it. And for me, I was saving quarters in an 1800 bottle of Cuervo all winter long. I'd save $1,000 in quarters in those things, and I did that because I wanted to run.
Yeah.
You know, that's $1,000 back those days was significant amount of money for the summer. We didn't spend much money living with friends and stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, just be yourself, man. Don't try to don't feel like you need to impress others all the time. Impress yourself. You know, if you can impress yourself, that's the ticket, and that's all that should really matter. At least in my opinion, should really matter that much. And because life is short. I mean, you know, when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, that guy's 45, man, he's old, you know, and not really, because guess what? I'm 57 now, and then it's like it goes really, really, really fast. And the older you get, the steeper that curve gets, and then eventually the curve's gone, and that's it, you know. So you get one chance. And live first, man. I mean, so many times, like I've been told this behind the bar, like, you know, whoa, where'd you come? I'm from New Hampshire. I'm out here just skiing. I ski every day. I ski 120 days a year. Ski powder all the time. It's fantastic. And then someone will say, well, are you going to go back to school? What are you going to major in? I'm like, I'm majoring in skiing waist deep pow, dude. You know, and then I'm gonna run all summer, and whatever follows me around after that follows me around. I mean, I'll figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
I figured it out. What works for me, and that's
You
the
got
most
your
key
convictions.
about your own job.
You've got good convictions. Sounds like you've got. I know you have a good relationship with your father, and it sounds like you're a wise man. I think beyond your years, and a lot of that stuff is self-taught and self-learned. And I think get off your phone and do what you said is amazing information. I know you don't have a huge presence on social media. And actually, it's like, I don't even know if this guy's going to want to come on a podcast because
No, that's good.
I think you had a quote that said social influencers or something. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And so how do people follow your journey? Obviously, we want to give you respect and get it out there.
Yeah, I primarily am on Facebook and Twitter. I usually just kind of chat on Twitter, or I throw in some random stuff. I don't like to be an influencer. Right. And nothing against the influence, don't get me wrong, but that's not me. I don't like to be fake.
Yeah.
And when I say sometimes I say stuff that sometimes might offend someone or something, I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think, when you have sponsors, when I run for Hoka and I was their first athlete, you know, so I'm like, am I the role model? Sometimes I'm not necessarily the role model, you know, but because I speak my voice, and sometimes that won't come out as the popular opinion of a lot of people. But at the same time, like, I like to speak my voice, and whether it's about the corporate model of buying races, because I sold my race, you know, I mean, I can be slapped in the face for what I did, but the bottom line is, like, I did it for me, and I thought about myself, not being selfish, but I thought about myself. I mean, I don't know, I just like to be me, you know, be you, just do what you want to do, and try to live your life fun, because you never know what's around the corner. And we've all had friends that, you know, bad things have happened with friends and things. We've all had it, and I'm sure, and you never know when it's going to end.
YOLO.
Yeah, it's just
Me
you gotta.
and my wife, we say that all the time, and I think there's a lot more. I'm gonna have a nice conversation with her tonight. I know she's looking forward to hearing what you have to say. I think you're an inspiration. I think you're a cool guy, and hopefully one day we'll meet up on the trail, as they say.
Yeah,
right.
I'll be out there somewhere wandering around.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Definitely, guys, if you're listening right now, hook us up with a subscribe at a 5-star. On a personal level, I really appreciate you coming on and giving me your time. I know that it's your most valuable commodity, and it's slipping away every day. And I really want to say I just appreciate you sharing your story with me. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into our podcast right now. I am so happy that you are here. You are in the right spot to be getting inspired by other people that have just achieved their goals so that you can achieve your goals. Do me a favor. leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us grow, and give us comments and feedbacks. We read those. It helps us grow. The most important person in this podcast is the listener, right? And so if you give us your feedback, it will allow us to create a better podcast for you. And make sure you enjoy the show and leave us a 5-star review.